Unlike my distinguished panelists, I'm not an influencer. I'm a practitioner. In fact, my influence is up till the solitary like that my mother gives my Facebook post, but apart from that, I'm not an influencer. And I work with brands to help them leverage sport better. Rather than talking about stats and figures and telling you how Toshan the fan engages with his sport team more than Toshan the consumer engages with his brand, I thought that why don't we have an esoteric dialogue about sport and the influence that sport has. So just to define the term influence, and across many, many definitions that I went through, the one that I found was most apt to the conversation that we want to have today is the ability to shape collective mindsets. Taking from that, I just want to open with a quote from an idol of mine, which is Nelson Mandela. He said that sport has the power to change the world. It has the power to inspire, and it has the power to unite people in a way that little else does. Sport speaks to the youth in a language that they understand, and sport can create hope where there was only once despair. It's a very powerful statement, and I want to share with you 3 stories of how sport has directly impacted society. Nelson Mandela made that quote because he actually used sport. If we go back to 1995 South Africa, the country was just opening its doors to international relations because of the dismantling of the apartheid regime. In 95, they held the Rugby World Cup. A year prior, Nelson Mandela was elected president. The unique aspect about rugby is that it holds a very close affinity with the rich minority white Afrikaner. And the South African rugby team had immense support from them. However, it seemed to alienate the rest of the population. So when the Rugby World Cup was actually held in South Africa, there was a lot of confusion. The country was quite literally on this brink of civil war. And the first match was played. And it's very remarkable to see what happened when you had the rich white minority Afrikaner on one side of the stadium waving the old South African flag, the one that represented the racist apartheid regime, and everyone else from the country, South Africans, supporting the opposition country. Just let that sink in. In your own country, you're supporting your opposition. And over the course of the next few weeks, something very remarkable happened. South Africa kept on winning, and they got to the final against New Zealand. The big difference between the final against New Zealand and the very first match is that the entire country, whether you were black, white, South African, Indian, mixed race, was in the stadium supporting the new South Africa, what they dubbed the Rainbow Nation. Nelson Mandela used sport to unite a broken country. If we fast forward to 2007, Iraq is embroiled in a devastating and brutal war. And whilst the streets of Baghdad are being bombed, the Iraqi football team is playing the AFC Cup. So the AFC Cup is Asia's version of the Euros. And again, something magical happens. Iraq gets to the final against Saudi Arabia, which they win. And the same streets that people were scared to walk on and were scared to even tread on were filled with children and women and communities celebrating the victory of their country. That's what sport can do. Sport can shine light in the darkest of moments. If we bring this closer to home, that phenomenal athlete on screen, her name is Rani Rampal. At the age of 15, she made her debut for the Indian hockey team, and she's considered amongst the top 5 forwards in the world. Her father is a handcart puller in Haryana. What's truly remarkable about Rani Rampal is that in 2015, there was a consensus that was released in December 2015, which said that the gender ratio in Haryana had crossed 900 for the first time in over a decade. One of the reasons why that was so is because families were looking up to players like Rani Rampal, players like Saina Nehwal, players like Sakshi Malik, and were saying, you know what? I will have a daughter, because ek din meri beti bhi Rani ho sakti hai. The ability to dismantle a social mindset. That is what sport has. But why does sport influence us? A mentor of mine gave me broke it down into two fundamental reasons. Number one, identifiability. Everyone is interested in knowing the physical limits of our mind and body. We connect with athletes because they show us the outer limits of our species. So when Mr. Bolt runs 100 meters in 9.58 seconds, we are all left in awe. The second reason is that we all have battling instincts and the desire to affiliate. And as we tend to move towards a nuclear living condition, we need to feed this desire. And teams and affiliations do that. And it's a very, very powerful bond. So how do we as marketeers and brand custodians leverage this connection? Sign Virat Kohli. The last 5 years of me being in this industry, I've been exposed to a few things, and I wanted to share those things with you in three short topics. Topic number one, to break the myopic view that we all have of what actually defines what an influencer is. Is an influencer someone that just happens to have a large number of Twitter followers, has a blue mark on Facebook and Instagram, that gets crazy views on YouTube? Is it something far more profound? Kalam Maheshwari was the first woman from India to ever win an Olympic medal. She did not pave the way for female athletes because when she was there was no road even dug up. She quite literally dug a road and set a foundation which many other female champions after her have followed. People like Saina Nehwal, Mary Kom, they've all considered her an influence because of what she achieved to break barriers. She has 361 followers on Twitter. Are we to say that she's not an influencer, even though the impact that she has had on ground is far more substantial? Number two, authenticity. The buzzword for us as marketeers is content. What's our content marketing strategy? How are we going to tell stories? What is the content that we're going to use on our social media platforms? And most often than not, when I'm speaking to my clients and when I'm speaking to different brands, they all keep saying, you know what, we want something truly authentic. We want something that connects with the audience. This is where I believe sport has the answer. Swapna Burman is India's best heptathlete. At the age of 17, she finished 5th at the Asian Games in Incheon. In 2017, she won the gold in heptathlon in Bhubaneswar at the Asian Athletics Championships. Swapna is from a very humble background in West Bengal, and her dad has been on bed rest ever since she was young. Her mother actually used to cycle her from her house to the Sai Center just so she could train. That's not even the most remarkable thing. The remarkable thing is Swapna was born with 6 toes on each foot. Every single pair of shoes that she wore were either too tight or too loose. She can't stand long enough because it causes her discomfort. Yet, she is the best that our country has produced. She is someone who's focused on representing India at the Tokyo 2020 Olympics. That is a story of overcoming adversity. That is a story that actually connects with people. She has no Twitter base. She has no Facebook followers. But we do. Our brands do. Imagine if we took her story and told it to the world. How we could communicate our values and what we stand for through what she has achieved. Number 3, the multiplier effect. Everyone, I believe, must know this man. Pinnacle of Gopi's career came in 2001 when he won the All England Badminton Championships. That's the Wimbledon of badminton. And after that, Gopi thought, how can I give back to sport? What can I do? And he went back to his hometown, Hyderabad, and set up an academy. And he said, I believe that the flaw in the Indian sporting ecosystem is how we coach our athletes. So he went and he created an entire pedagogy of which he approved of and started coaching badminton players. Here we are, a decade later, and we have 6 Indian men in the top 50 of the badminton rankings. 5 of them have been coached at Gopi's Academy and still train there. The 2 women who are in the top 10 both have been coached by Gopi. He is an influencer because every day, thousands of parents write to him and say, "Sir, please allow my child to come and enroll in your academy. Please, can you coach my child?" The question that we must ask ourselves as brand custodians is, how do we engage with someone like a Gopi, someone who can shape a destiny of an entire community? What can we do, and what can we do through him to get our brand communication across? So once again, why does sport influence us? Sport influences us, and I genuinely believe this, because when India wins the World Cup, we aren't male or female. We aren't Hindu or Muslim. We're not Punjabi or Tamil. Sport influences us because even if we've had the worst possible week of our life and our team wins on Saturday, we are ecstatic. Sport influences us because even if our child has been born today and Manchester United loses, we are miserable. Sport inspires us, and Nike put it very eloquently here, because it allows us to find our own greatness. It teaches us that it's not about what we can't do, but what we can actually do. And it gives us the ability to break perception and actually prove the naysayers wrong. Why does sport influence us? Sport influences us because it's powerful, because it's emotional. And because it's emotional, it's very, very powerful. And we, as brand custodians, have to harness this emotional equity and connect with our consumers. This is why I believe sport is amongst the best influences we have at our disposal. Thank you.